Hey, what's going on, everybody? We should be live right now on YouTube. You know the deal. Let's make sure that all the sound and everything is good. And once you all give me the go-ahead, we will go ahead and get started with this crazy, awesome news. Let me know when we are good. And we should be good already, but let me see. Are we good? Are we good? Are we not good? Somebody let me know. Let's try again. I think we're good. It doesn't show me for some reason that we are live, but I want to make sure before we get started. Last time I talked for like 30 minutes and didn't know that okay. We are good. We are good. Awesome. Awesome. I hope everybody is doing well this morning. I'm doing fantastic, actually. It's been a beautiful day. Hopefully it'll be even more beautiful year. 2018 is just shaping out to be fantastic for anyone who gives at least one damn about justice, right? It's been a pretty damn good day for us, or a good year for us thus far, and it's only like the 12th. But before we get started, could I urge you all, please share this video. I can't really stress enough how important it is for us to reach as many people as humanly possible, because these are the issues that we should be talking about. These are the issues that really a lot of us would love to hear about on the mainstream media, or the establishment media, the so-called establishment media, or the mainstream media. But they don't talk about them. And of course, there is a reason for that. We know that. But it's cool. Whatever. Did somebody say don't HA me? No, this isn't an H.A. Goodman indictment is a possibility post. This is a real life indictment. This is not a game. This is not a drill. This is real life. That's why I'm asking you all to share so that we can go ahead and get started. Whoo! Jacob Jimenez said, George Soros? Ooh, I wish. Oh, I wish. It's crazy. You know what's interesting? Obviously, given my background, I've done a lot of research into George Soros. And it's just really weird how this man isn't even an American citizen, or he's an American citizen, but he is not, like, he wasn't even raised in the States for most of his life. I don't even believe half of his life. He hasn't even lived here for half of his life. Yet he takes an extremely particular fondness for donating to American politics. That's really weird, people. Thank you. Share the video, because for some reason I am actually not able to share this video, which is kind of not the norm. Maybe something is going on with YouTube, but as long as you all can see, that's perfectly fine with me. As long as you all can see, then I'm good. So I'm glad we're up and running. Thank you all so much for being here. Of course, I want to welcome you all to Mikasa Sukasa, and I am your host, Niko House. I want to urge you all to join our One Follow $1 campaign, where we show the mainstream media that if they will not invest in the truth, then we will invest in those who will. You can do so by just donating $1 to the Patreon link in the description. Also, help us on our road to 10,000 subscribers. We are getting ever closer. We've actually grown by a pretty good amount. We've gotten over 70 subscribers this week alone, which is freaking awesome. And I think we can do even better. If you're watching and this is your first time watching, hit that subscribe button right now, because no one regrets it. That does not mean that you will always agree with what I say. What I mean is that you will not regret it. And because no matter what, you will know that you are getting unmitigated and objective truth. And we are not pushing an agenda. Well, we're pushing the agenda, but there is an agenda of truth, and that's the only agenda. So make sure you do that. Also, for those of you who have been begging me to get a podcast, congratulations, you have won that battle. I got on Stitcher yesterday, which apparently I didn't know that there was like a huge like podcast community. I'm not gonna lie, because I've done most of my research and my listening on YouTube, and then occasionally I listen to iTunes podcasts. But like I didn't know there was like a massive podcast community, and like Stitcher is like up there for like the elite, and you actually have to be like kind of important to get on Stitcher. And so when I applied, they asked for everything but like the color of my underwear. And I'm pretty sure I thought that question was going to come next in case they needed any follow-up information. So I applied and I got it. So I'm on Stitcher now. And because you all have been being so patient when it comes to me setting up a podcast, from starting Monday until, well, I guess until I feel like it, you will be seeing a podcast from me every single day. I'm talking about Saturdays. I'm talking about Sundays. I'm talking about my birthday. I'm talking about Jesus's birthday. I'm talking every single day until I get tired of doing it. So, which I don't imagine will be anytime soon, considering I make videos every day anyway. We're going to get deeper into the subjects on there. We're going to dive into more specific information. It's not going to just be a bunch of breaking news and shock value stuff. We're going to get in depth. We're going to talk about controversial issues, and I'm super excited about all the things to come on the podcast. So, of course, you can look it up by. I'm gonna post a link in the description because it's going to take a while for me to just come up as in the search on Stitcher. So you can type in MCSC Politics, Mikasa Sukasa, but make sure you put Niko House, or else you're gonna get a bunch of Spanish stuff. So I just want to make sure we know that. So with that being said, I think we knocked out all the housekeeping stuff. It is time. So while I was listening to all of the malarkey and all the jargon that was going on in the mainstream media, I know at this point that when something like this is harped on, like the whole shithole comment, when that's harped on by literally every single person in the establishment media and establishment politics, and even some progressives kind of get dragged into it, I kind of realize, based on all of our mutual experience, that there's probably something bigger going on that we have missed, that we have overlooked. And the intentionality was kind of apparent. Like, they were like, yeah, let's just talk about this all day. I have never heard a freaking word talked about all day long like we did yesterday with the whole Trump and the shithole comment. Except for, I think the only other time that we heard something like that talked about all day long was the grab him by the pussy comment. That was also talked about pretty frequently. Like that was talked about for like 3 days. So, but even during that time period, there was a lot of things going on behind the scene that the mainstream media was trying to attack us from. I mean, protect us from, if you will, not attack us with. But there was something, and it was huge. You all have obviously been keeping up with the sealed indictments. A lot of people, believe it or not, thought that these indictments were rumors. A lot of people have pushed these indictments off as conspiracy theories. I don't know why people would conspire with sealed indictments. That would be a weird thing to try to tell people. But hey, they're not conspiracy. In fact, one of the indictments has just become unsealed. And guess what it involves? The Uranium One deal with quid pro quo behavior. If you want to, and I'll post a link after I get done with the live video. This is from the Justice Department's website, justice.org. This isn't a right wing, because some people are going to come on, oh, this is right wing conspiracy. this is, you know, anti-Hillary trolls. No. You can't dodge anymore. This is a .gov website. It's happening. It's real. And an indictment against former co-president of Maryland-based transportation company that provides services for the transportation of nuclear materials to customers in the United States and abroad was unsealed today for his alleged role in a scheme that involved the bribery of an official at a subsidiary of Russia's State Atomic Energy Corporation. For those of you who kept trying to say, oh no, it wasn't between a State Department, or excuse me, it wasn't between our government and Russia's government. Yeah, it was. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It was. It's just because it was a corporation. We have corporations too. Our DMV is a corporation, but it still belongs to the state. Obviously, that's an oversimplification of the situation, but just to help you all understand that, yes. So this bribery was between government officials and Russia's state and Russia's government. It was just a subsidiary of Russia's government. So, acting Assistant Attorney General John P. Cronin of the Justice Department's Criminal Division, acting U.S. Attorney Stephen M. Shinning of the District of Maryland, Principal Deputy Inspector General April G. Stevenson of U.S. Department of Energy Office of the Inspector General, and Assistant Director in Charge Andrew W. Vail of the FBI's Washington, D.C. field office made the announcement. Mark Lambert, 54, of Mount Airy, Maryland, was charged. Woo! It feels so good to say it, y'all. It feels so good to say it. You know how long we've been hoping for some type of indictment for anybody? Is anybody going to get in trouble for anything? Like we just selling uranium to whoever the hell wants it now? We have been waiting for those words to be uttered for 2 years. It feels so good. Can I say it again? Do y'all mind if I say it again? Mark Lambert, 54, of Mount Airy, Maryland, was charged. Feels so good. He was charged in an 11-count indictment. Woo! Not 1, not 2, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Not 11, but 11. That's a lot. When you got 11 doesn't sound like a lot. But 11 is a lot of damn indictment charges. Woo! Let's go. With 1 count of conspiracy to violate Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. Ooh. And to commit wire fraud, 7 counts of violating the FCPA, 2 counts of wire fraud, and 1 count of international promotion money laundering. The charges stem from an alleged scheme to bribe Vadim Mikarin, a Russian official. Oh, official? Why isn't this all over the news? This looks like collusion to me. It looks like maybe this Russian official was trying to hack the elections in favor of Hillary Clinton. Anyway, yeah, right. If this was Trump, oh God, forget it. Oh, can you believe if this was Trump? If this was Trump Jr., if this was Ivanka, if this was somebody who had worked for Trump 25 years ago, this would literally be all over the news. But it isn't. Of course not. Because it's not about Trump. It actually proves what Trump and the rest of us have been saying. Not that I'm a fan of Trump, but he said it. He said this Russia story is a distraction from those who have actually been colluding with the Russian government, and that would be Clinton and her cronies. So, let me see where we're at right now. The case against Lambert is assigned to the U.S. District Court Judge Theodore D. Chuang of the District of Maryland. According to the indictment, beginning at least as early as 2009. Isn't that around the time Hillary Clinton started running for president? And continuing until October 2014, Lambert conspired with others at the Transportation Corporation, A, to make a corrupt and fraudulent bribery and kickback payments to offshore bank accounts associated with shell companies at the direction of and for the benefit of a Russian official, Vadim Mikarin. And in order to secure improper business advantages and obtain and retain business with 10x. In order to effectuate and conceal the corrupt and fraudulent bribe payments, Lambert and others allegedly caused fake invoices to be prepared purportedly from 10x and Transportation Corporation A, that described services that were never provided. Then Lambert and others caused Transportation Corporation A to wire the corrupt payments for those purported services to shell companies in Latvia, Cyprus, and Switzerland. Lambert and others also allegedly used code words like lucky figures, LF, lucky numbers, and cake to describe the payments and emails to the Russian officials at his personal email account. The indictment also alleges that Lambert and others caused Transportation Corporation A to overbill 10x by building the cost of the corrupt payments into their invoices. And 10x thus overpaid Transportation Corporation services. In June 2015, Lambert's former co-president Darren Condry pleaded guilty to conspiracy to violate the FCPA and commit wire fraud, and Vadim Mikarin pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit money laundering involving violations of the FCPA. Mikarin is currently serving a sentence of 48 months in prison, and Condry is awaiting sentencing. The indictment includes allegations against Lambert based on the role in effectuating the criminal scheme with Condry, Mikarin, and others. So, ladies and gentlemen, what does this all mean? What does this mean for us? What does it mean going forward? How happy should we be? Should we be happy at all? Hell yeah, we should be happy. Listen, people. First of all, like I said, share this video. Let me just get that out there. Share this video literally wherever you can, because this is something that literally no one has been talking about. And it came out, actually, I'm late to the party. This released last night. It released yesterday. But no one knows about it. But what does this mean? It means that they are getting closer. It means that you take out the little fish to get to the big fish. If you didn't gather from this, this is the Uranium One deal. That's what they're referring to. This is the first official unsealed indictment with the Uranium One deal. Clearly, we all know who was involved as far as the quote-unquote big fish. It was the State Department. Now, if you ask anybody in the establishment media, you know, that's been debunked, right? It's been debunked. I am, oh God, I can't believe I'm about to say this. I'm actually proud of Trump, because the other day he signed an order saying that he was going to crack down on libel. And most people, and even myself unconsciously, when I first read it, I'm like, why is he's really, bro? Like, you're going to complain because people are making fun of you, like, get over it. But then I had to turn on my critical thinking skills, because anytime I read anything in the mainstream media, you know, you gotta, why are they posting this? What are they trying to say? Now, what should I really take from this? And I was thinking, like, yeah, he should crack down on libel, because the mainstream media is legitimately lying on the President of the United States of America, whether we like it or not. You know, if you don't like him, that's on you. If you do like him, happy for you. But either way, you should not be lying on the President of the United States of America, because it delegitimizes any criminal activities that he may really have committed or will commit in the future. And it deceives the American people. They have been lying, saying that this story has been debunked. I'm verbatim. This has already been debunked several times. This has already been debunked by independent sources several times. Why is this guy getting indicted? Why is someone who was apparently in charge of transporting the uranium, his company was, and then bribing people and paying people off, committing fraud, doing all that good stuff? How is it debunked? Because here's where it gets a little bit more interesting. It just said that McCarran is already serving his time or is about to serve his time. So that means that someone who was involved in the Uranium One deal is already in trouble for it. So if someone has already been caught for it, why are they saying it's been debunked? Because Hillary hasn't been caught yet? Is that their definition of debunked? Hey, it's been debunked, everybody. Hillary Clinton hasn't been indicted yet. So, of course, clearly, like the email scandal. Hillary Clinton hasn't been indicted. So all those emails that she, that got hacked and that she was sending out on unsecured servers, those didn't happen. That's been debunked. That clearly, because she wasn't indicted by someone who was also corrupt. It is clear, it should be clearer more now than ever that the mainstream media has been given a very, very clear and present goal to deceive you at every single turn. We saw it yesterday with the whole shithole comment. Trump was wrong for making those comments. And I want people to be clear about where I stand on that. He was absolutely wrong for making those comments. He was. I saw a post on Twitter where they said, "Oh, my Irish ancestors came from famine and there was great poverty and etc. etc." And he said we should like Trump would have been saying the same thing. And I want to be very clear. No, he wouldn't have, because there's a very clear pattern in Trump's insults when it comes to certain countries and certain groups of people. Those countries are usually primarily occupied by people of color. He would never attack a Western European country and call it a shithole. Let's be very clear about that. So, but I'm not going to harp on it. For what? What does that do? I'm about real change so that these countries can actually stop being shitholes, because I, amongst several other progressives and people who are actually awake and paying attention, know that these countries are perceived shitholes because of what the United States and the Western world does to keep them that way. Anderson Cooper, one of my teachers, was a Haitian male, and he was assassinated while running for president of the United States. How dare you, Trump? Anderson Cooper don't give a damn about Haiti. You know why? You know how we know? Who was he promoting during the election, people? Don Lemon. Who are you promoting during the election? The very woman that Haitians were out in the streets, which the news didn't cover, and there's a very good reason they did not cover it. But the very woman that the Haitians were out in the streets campaigning against, because she destroyed their nation, because she had their nation under siege. But Anderson Cooper and Don Lemon all of a sudden pretend like they can talk about Haiti now because Trump said what he says, he did what he did, and all of a sudden it's okay to talk about Haiti. But during the election, nobody wanted to talk about Haiti. During the election, nobody wanted to talk about Venezuela. Nobody wanted to talk about these countries like Libya that Hillary Clinton had a direct hand in undermining. But conveniently yesterday, all of a sudden, we're going to talk about that all day. On the same day that an unsealed indictment involving the Uranium One deal drops, right after the week of them claiming that this deal has been debunked. And I'm going to be honest with you, the fact that the other side, the people who was receiving the uranium, has already started serving time for this, The fact that the other side has already started serving time for this, I didn't know that. But let's be clear about something. I didn't know that because it's hard to keep up with literally everything in the world. However, CNN is perfectly capable of keeping up with everything in the world. That's their job. And they did know this. I can almost say this with absolute certainty. Hillary Clinton definitely knew. And so, given the fact that people had already gotten in trouble dealing with this particular transaction, with accounts of fraud, accounts of money laundering, foreign affairs, what was it? I want to quote it correctly. With the exact act they violated. It's the FCPA. Okay, here you go. Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. There has already been people arrested from this deal violating the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act that were tied to the Uranium One deal that was approved by the State Department. And we are pretending like, I mean, not us. If you're watching this, it's probably likely that you aren't pretending a damn thing. You know for a fact that this is all a cover-up, that was always a cover-up. But we know that people, now we know, which is why you got to share the video, but now we know that there were people who have already been serving time for violating this act. This is Hillary Clinton's signature, stamp. And there are neoliberals who have been trying to pretend like this Uranium One deal was no big deal, when in fact it was their New York Times article from that same liberal group. Because New York Times is in fact a neoliberal publication, I'm not going to deny that. But in 2015, they were the ones who told us about this. All these articles all of a sudden come out, in the mainstream media debunking this. But it was the New York Times, the same New York Times who reported the 17 intelligence agencies article and had to retract it in complete and utter embarrassment. Ooh. So, what does this mean for us going forward? It means that we can count on what I've always said we can count on, people. Republican pettiness. But also, this is another important thing that that we should really be considering right now. I am not a fan of Donald Trump. I am, however, a fan of some of the things that he has done. I'm a fan of him pulling out of Syria, taking the CIA out of Syria. I am also a fan of and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later this afternoon, of him actually creating rehabilitation programs. He said, which is nothing. This is something, by the way, that the Democrats have never done. He is working with someone who has a record right now of closing down private prison systems because he said, yes, we need to be tough on crime. This is from Trump's mouth. But we also need to work on making sure that they can become functioning members of society after they get out. We need to make sure we can rehabilitate them legitimately, that they can get jobs, that they can get education after they get out. I was like, what the like, hold up. That's what's crazy about Trump. He's a freaking anomaly. My grandma, I'm telling you, you need to listen to your grandparents, people. Listen to the age, listen to the wisdom, listen to the experience. My grandma told me, she said, baby, Trump's not racist. I was like, Grandma, I'm pretty sure he's racist. He is racist by the academic definition of racist, okay? But what she was saying is, he doesn't hate black people. He doesn't hate Mexicans. He has a lot of ignorant misconceptions based off of the people he's been around and the lack of interaction that he's had with people who are not elite. She didn't say it like that, but that's more or less what she said. She said he's just an old, angry man who's always talked like that amongst his friends and been able to say what he wants to, but his brand is more important to him than anything. When Trump gets out, he doesn't want to lose his business. And because of that, it makes him a little vulnerable to certain things. It makes him controllable, if you will, but not controllable by the establishment, because the establishment is just as guilty as he is at some of the stuff that he's been accused of. Because I don't want to get this twisted. He was on that plane, the Lolita Express, with Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton. He was on it. And he wasn't on there to take pictures. And I want to be clear about that. He did rape his ex-wife. He was only found not guilty of rape because at the time, the law said that you could not rape your wife, even though they were not together. However, Trump has done a lot more things that are not good. Here's the good thing about that is that when your brand is more important to you than your ideals, you're going to do what the hell these people tell you to do. And it has already been well documented throughout the primary and throughout the general election that there are a lot of people in the intelligence community who are really pissed about the actions that have been allowed to take place amongst the Obama administration, amongst the Clinton administration, even amongst the Bush administration. They are pissed about what has been allowed to take place with this human trafficking that has been a plague on not just the United States, but the entire world. And even though we have all of the components and the abilities to greatly reduce human trafficking in all of its forms, no major Western government has done a damn thing about it. In fact, it seems to be the total opposite. It seems to be that they have perpetuated the problem, that they have propagated it. In fact, it even is beginning to seem, if you watch the stream with myself and Elizabeth Lee Beck, which is why I believe I'm a firm believer in a higher power. Some people call them gods, some people call it Allah, some people call it, a deity, whatever you want to call them. I'm a firm believer in a higher presence and a collective energy that is driving us and driving the evil into the light. Because this is pure evil. Like, this is evil. What the stuff that we've been seeing and the stuff that's been allowed. Myself, Elizabeth Lee Beck, and Jared H. Beck started the DNC fraud lawsuit, which most of you are aware of. What was not widely known until very recently was that right before Jared and Liz had met me, they had become involved in a Mayo Clinic case. Mayo Clinic is the same Mayo Clinic, surprisingly enough, that in Jacksonville, Florida, that is partnered with the Clinton Foundation through Clinton Foundation's Health First initiative. One of the countries that they work with, you guessed it, Haiti. Now, this case, at first, Liz was like, it's a little weird, but she didn't think anything of it. And they took the case. Because this was before they had had their eyes open to what had been going on with the Clinton and the Clinton Foundation. We had no idea what the Mayo Clinic was. It wasn't until, obviously you all know, 2016 that they met me. 2015 that they had dealt with the primaries, and that's when their eyes had started to become more and more and more awake. And they start, every time they're involved in a situation like that, a case involving a huge government entity, because the Mayo Clinic and the Florida state government are extremely intertwined, that they start paying attention to things. Liz's Mayo Clinic case, 2 judges recused themselves. They absolutely refused to preside over that trial. Do you know what that looks like? That doesn't happen unless the judge is friends or family with an attorney, the judge is friends or family with the witness, etc., etc. That was not the case. They just said, I'm not touching this with a fucking 12-foot pole. Do you know why? Because somebody had a misplaced organ. As in someone got jumped on their list. As in someone was promised an organ and then all of a sudden they didn't get it. Surprisingly enough. And the Mayo Clinic specializes in organ transplants. They specialize in all the newest innovation in organ harvesting and organ transplants and preservation of organs. That's what they do. That's their expertise. I'm not joking. This is what the Mayo Clinic does. And one of the very, very few partners they have is the Clinton Foundation. And one of the places they love to work in is Haiti. Now, on Liz's case, 2 judges recused themselves. And that, once again, in the very, 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 very beginning, she didn't think much of it. Then, as she became more politically awake, and then she met me, we kind of, obviously, me, her, and Jared talk all the time. And I started educating her more on the Clinton Foundation, and Jared does the same. And then she actually became freaked out. Because that case was thrown out on a summary judgment. Thrown out. And do you know what the reason was? She brought in an expert on organ transplants. She brought in an expert, and you know the judge just said, we don't trust your expert. We trust this expert. Do you know who the other expert was? Someone who worked for the Mayo Clinic. And that doesn't happen. The judge doesn't judge whether someone is persuasive enough. Because that's what he said. He said, I don't believe this. Your expert, Mrs. Beck, is persuasive enough. They threw it out. So Liz, and when Liz gets infuriated about something, she starts going into super research mode. That is when, as most of you know, we found out some crazy information. Do you know who sits on the board of the Mayo Clinic? People like Barbara Bush, Al Roker, a few other politicians and media heads. They sit on the board of the Mayo Clinic, as in they deal with the operations of the Mayo Clinic. Why the hell are a bunch of politicians and media heads sitting on the board of an exclusive clinic that is literally, I think it can literally be found in 3 places? Jacksonville, Florida, where and Jacksonville, Florida, which is that the capital? I want to say Jacksonville is the capital. It's between Jacksonville and Tallahassee, but I'm pretty sure Jacksonville is the capital. But I know the case itself was in Tallahassee. So Jacksonville, Florida, Minnesota, where, as you all know, Peter Smith, the guy who was investigating the Clinton Foundation, he died, inhaled helium, somehow managed, even though he was sick, supposedly, somehow managed to carry 2 big-ass helium tanks to his room and kill himself. Right when he was about to release some information on the Clinton Foundation. And the other place that the Mayo Clinic exists, which is Phoenix, Arizona. Weirdly enough, where Chester Bennington, the former singer from Linkin Park who had killed himself, is from, where his supposedly biological mother worked. And obviously I don't know if you know that story, but he was about to come out with some of the stuff that he had seen in Haiti, and so was his partner. For those of you who don't know, I want to just give you the skinny on that, just really fast. Chester Bennington and Linkin Park had a business in Haiti, which doesn't happen unless you get final approval from the Clinton Foundation, the Clintons, and Podesta himself. After they were there, that's when you just didn't hear anything from them. Like, they just stopped talking about it. Because they said what they saw. So, there are a lot of people out there in this world right now that have positions of influence and are using them for good. Finally. Because they got someone who was malleable. They got someone who they can take control of, who is outside of the establishment, but he isn't, he isn't an angel. And he cares about his brand. and for those of you who've been watching me forever, my firsters, that's what I like to call them, when you care more about your brand, you always use someone's self-interest. That's how you win this war that we're fighting for justice. Self-interest. Everybody has them. And Trump's self-interest is to make sure that his family name can live on. He has a legacy. His family has a legacy, although albeit not that good. Think about it though. Before this presidency, Trump ran in 2000 under the Reform Party. And guess who asked him to run? Jesse Ventura, who is the most progressive person ever. He's a senator and he has a ponytail. Jesse Ventura thought that Trump was good enough to run for office, for president no less. So there was clearly something in Trump. Although he was an elite, Jesse Ventura saw something in him that could have possibly been good for this nation. And it may have very well been the fact that he is a no-nonsense kind of guy. And that he does like looking good to people. He is an elite. Do not mistake that. But under Hillary Rodham Clinton, we would not have seen these indictments taking place right now. Under Hillary Rodham Clinton, our Supreme Court judges would be corrupt, corporate centrists who every time, I've told you this. I said I absolutely do not want Hillary Clinton picking the Supreme Court judges. Because right now it's in the federal court, but it's in the federal court of Maryland. But it will be appealed. It absolutely will be appealed. Unless they cop a plea and start snitching on some people, which I really hope happens. But it will be appealed otherwise. And it will go eventually to the Supreme Court. Now, who would you rather have in the Supreme Court dealing with corruption cases involving Hillary Clinton, the State Department, and all those who worked under her and with her to essentially violate all of these laws and regulations? Would you want Hillary Clinton's chosen people, Supreme Court justices? Or would you want someone like Trump and the Republicans who hate this woman choosing the Supreme Court justices? And more specifically, Trump himself. Because they were friends at one point. And Hillary, because of her ambition and because of her puppet masters, just threw Trump under the bus. Now, would you be more personally pissed at? A person who tried to defame your name and you didn't know them and they were just, trying to win. And so you're like, yeah, screw that person. But, we're at war. So I get it. I'm still pissed, but I get it. Or your friend who you assumed you had a mutual respect for because she's just as racist as she claims you to be. Her husband is every bit as a vile pig as he claims you to be. For every person that has supposedly claimed to be had been sexually harassed recently by Trump, and then we found was paid off to do so, we know for a fact Bill Clinton had absolutely raped and sexually harassed people. That he was absolutely a pig. We found out during the election that Jeffrey Epstein, Lolita Express, there was files and paperwork showing that Bill Clinton was going on these planes and leaving the Secret Service behind while he was still the president of the United States of America. That is not a conspiracy theory. That was in the mainstream media, and the Clintons paid to make sure that shit never showed up anywhere afterwards. So Trump and Hillary Clinton were friends. They were colleagues. They've worked together. They were at each other. What wasn't the Clintons? They were at the Trump's wedding, which clearly you had to be specially invited to. And then she tried to pretend that Trump is not my friend. Oh, he's racist. All right, super predator. All right, kicking Black Lives Matter out like it's nothing. Totally ignoring them and then trying to call Bernie Sanders a racist. All right, Miss Clinton Foundation, paying all of your women less than what you pay the men for no apparent reason. Trying to claim Trump is violating these institutions by leaving his kids in charge of his business while he's still the president of the United States of America. Oh, what were you doing as Secretary of State when Chelsea Clinton was running the Clinton Foundation? Or helping to run the Clinton Foundation and receiving favors? What was that? Was it not the same thing? Trump has not profited anywhere near as much as you profited as Secretary of State. So, because of all of these realities, this is why when people, are just, oh my God, how can you be so optimistic? I am optimistic because I understand human nature. I understand self-interest. And I also understand how all that is interwoven into politics and political decisions. Do not get it twisted. I don't know if Trump is a good person. Given everything we know about him, it is likely that he is not a good person. But given all the information we know about him, we still know that he cares about his brand. And so we also know that this isn't the only sealed indictment. This is one of them. This is one. And now I'm even curious I'm starting to think Robert Mueller really may be on the right team because he cares about his legacy. Or perhaps he even has people watching him that are like, look, bro, you try it, you'll be out just like Comey. Seriously, I'm not joking. Like, I really feel like there are FBI agents. If you've ever watched, I think his name is Dick Morrison. He used to work for the Clinton Foundation. Or excuse me, not the Clinton Foundation. He used to work for the Clintons. He worked directly for Bill Clinton while he was the president of the United States, and I even think he was Secretary of State or Deputy Secretary of State. If you've ever watched his live streams, and this is prior, long time ago, that like during the elections when my mentor, very politically astute guy who knew Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton before they even had gray hair, so it was a long time. He said, you have to watch this guy. He's kind of conservative, but you need to watch him. And I know him. He everything he is saying is true. And this guy was releasing all this information about the deep state. And when someone who has been at the top and really at that point could go higher he feels so strongly about what's happening that he just starts spilling all the information about the deep state. You listen. Because he has no reason to start spilling all that information. All you can stand to lose at that point is credibility. You can only lose your credibility. You can only lose your brand. You're not getting another spot in the government. You're risking it all. When people start risking it all, especially when all they can do at that point is go up, if they just play the game, you sit down, you shut up, and you listen. Because what they're telling you is very likely some real shit. And there's a reason that they are saying it. I want you all to remain vigilant. I want you all to remain confident. I want you all to remain optimistic. Look at the facts in front of you. Don't freak out. I know it seems a little bit overwhelming, because it is. It overwhelms me sometimes. It seems like people like Hillary Clinton are absolutely untouchable. But luckily for us, you don't have to be smart or intelligent or have common sense to get rich and powerful. You just have to be corrupt enough. And so sometimes stupid ass people end up rich and powerful. And stupid ass people are very easy to take down. A good example of that, Debbie Weissman Schultz. Another great example of that, Donna Brazile, Uma Abedin, Anthony Weiner, Bill Clinton initially, and now we're starting to see the same thing with Hillary Clinton. Stupid people are easy to take down. And just because you got rich, it just means you know how to be corrupt. That's all that means. Smart people do indeed get rich. But smart people don't make mistakes like this. I promise I didn't mean for that to rhyme. So, before I go, I want to ask, does anybody have any questions or any concerns or anything like that that you want to bring up? Leave it in the comment section, and I will answer them as they go. First, let me see if there's any super chats I need to respond to. Oh wow, there's a lot of comments here. If you did leave a super, okay. Laura Powers, she said, "Thank you very much, Laura. I appreciate it." Laura Powers just super chatted $5. I appreciate that. She said, "Will you go and interview the men being charged and find the other people involved, and with I'm assuming with connections to HRC?" Actually, I would like to go and interview the guy involved. But at that point, it would be a matter of me having to go to the correct legal channels to do so. But I don't see why not. I can try. I've been kind of successful with doing so in the past, or at least I could get a solid answer for you and figure out if I am allowed to do so. And then if they won't let me and they don't give me the reason, I'll make a video about it and you'll know why. So you can be more pissed. Who else? Anybody else have any questions? Let me see if there's any concerns that y'all posted that I may have missed. Is anybody? Oh, Niko is Vivian Sanchez. Niko is now controlled opposition and a sellout. Vivian Sanchez, how could you say something so rude? How could you say something so? Hey, you know what? I would love to know how I'm controlled opposition. Because if I'm controlled opposition and someone is paying me, then someone needs to call my bank and let them know, because the wire transfer has not hit my account yet and I have to feed my fur babies. And so if it is there and I am controlled opposition, can I at least get the pay for it? But otherwise, which is probably more likely, I'm not controlled opposition. In fact, I'm probably the last objective thinker that you have left. One of the few who are not out to look for profit, money. I don't want any position at CNN. Clearly I would never get one. I sacrificed my position on the Bernie Sanders campaign to investigate Hillary Clinton. So I gave up. When I first broke the information about all the people who had infiltrated Bernie Sanders' campaign from Hillary Clinton and Hillary Clinton super PACs, do you know someone called me and threatened me? The first thing they threatened was my political career. His name was Christopher Smith, and he had claimed to have been someone who was working on the Bernie Sanders campaign. Little did he know that I actually knew who he worked for before that. But that's neither here nor there. His name was Christopher Smith. He threatened my political career. He said, if you go forward with this, you will never have a career in politics. You know what I told him? I don't like politics that much anyway. I do not care about their agendas. I don't care about Democrat. I don't care about Republican. I don't care about Trump. I do care about Hillary because she's evil. What I care about is the future of this country, because indeed I do love what it's supposed to stand for. What I care about is the future of those abroad. who can't defend themselves. And I feel like we have an absolute responsibility to do so in whatever capacity we have the ability to do it in. And mine just happens to be creating awareness. But I feel like if you are not taking steps every single day to protect those who cannot protect themselves, then you are controlled opposition, whether or not you want to believe it. Because you are controlled, you are docile. You are comfortable with the status quo because you are not being affected by it. But as we speak right now, someone's house just got bombed. As we speak right now, someone's territory has just been taken over. As we speak right now, someone has been a victim of a hate crime. As we speak right now, our government is right now conducting another coup, or is in the process of it. If we do not start dealing with the actual issues, instead of attacking the Trumps of the world, you know, I don't like Hillary Clinton, but I don't attack Hillary Clinton or want her in jail because of her, or because I don't like her. I want her in jail because she embodies everything wrong with the United States government, everything wrong with the Western world. We are imperialists. We end lives and destroy countries to maintain our status. Now, if that makes me controlled opposition, yeah, I am controlled opposition. I oppose imperialism. I oppose corruption. And I am controlled by integrity. And so that can't change. I physically cannot be corrupt. I sometimes when I was young, I wish I could, because it's easier. You get richer that way. You can take care of your family that way. But then I learned really fast that that's what they do. They starve you. They starve you. They put you in positions, and you in your family positions where you yearn to just be able to eat, where you yearn to be a part of something bigger, so that you never have to worry about the people that you love starving. And then that's when they hand you the plate. And they say, hey, you know, if you just say this, you can have some chicken. Hey, if you say this, you can have some steak. Hey, man, if you say this, you can have the whole buffet. Your family will eat for the rest of the time your name exists. You will never have to worry about anything again. You will be above the poverty. And then you ask, what about them? Oh, don't worry about them. They'll be fine, man. But you're taken care of. And I didn't fall into that trap. But many people do. And many people don't even realize it. But I don't know if you've noticed this, since we are talking about corruption. Many people haven't even noticed, especially black people. But black people are the minorities in general, but I'm speaking of black people because I know more black people. We have been the ones this trap has been sprung on probably more than anyone else in recent years. Think about it. During the primary election, the entire African American caucus, with exception to a couple of people, they all went to Hillary. All of them. At the national level. Knowing that Bernie think about this. Bernie took his happy ass from New York and drove to the South to fight for civil rights. Why would you do that? That doesn't affect you. But the black people who know this, we've been trained to be individual in our thoughts and only worry about ours and our family. You ever heard, we came up with the phrase, you know, mind your own tea or stay out of somebody else's tea. I can't remember how it goes. But, you know, don't be worried about anybody else's tea. As in, mind your own business. And that type of thinking can be dangerous. But the corruption that I've described to you, like that they starve you and then they give you a little bit, and then they give you a little bit more. As long as you keep doing what they say, they give you a little bit more, and they give you a little bit more. But then they throw your ass under the bus the moment they get the opportunity to. And they will. So, does anybody have any other questions for me? Any other questions? Oh, I see another super chat. Stephanie, thank you very much. Who do I think is getting indicted next? Ooh, man. So if the first unsealed indictment had to do with the transportation of the uranium, I would say next they start looking into those who had facilitated the its financing. Perhaps people in finance departments, maybe financing through the Clinton Foundation. Like, I would say that's where we're looking, is those who dealt with the money transferring. Because okay, so this is why I say this, because it said they conspired to commit what was it? What is it? I want to get it exactly right for you. That they conspired to violate the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act and commit wire fraud. There you go, and to commit wire fraud. So to conspire to commit wire fraud, obviously you have the initiating party who wanted to send the money. Then you have the receiving party who received the money. But then you have to have people who facilitate the money that are qualified to do so. So I think that may be coming up next, and you know, that's something I think that we should be looking out for going forward. I don't know. I'm excited though. I do see it going higher and higher. I see it like it's a building block. And this is what's happening. You want to hear my theory on why some are sealed and why they're releasing them one by one? Because it's like they're lighting a fire, and they got the fuse is all the way it's like a long fuse, mile long fuse, and they're lighting it. They could have set off the dynamite. They could just boom, but they're like click, and what they're saying is, that's one. Here's your chance. You better snitch. That's two. Here's your chance. You better save yourself. That's three. We're getting closer. So they're trying to take their time and be very methodical with who they bring on or with who they unseal, because they're giving them the opportunity to snitch on those who are higher than them. And given what we know about snaky politicians, eventually, probably somewhere in the middle ground, someone will snitch. So, Pat, hey Pat, thanks for the 5. This is my first contribution to Niko and his kitty. Oh man, I got a lot of kittens. I got for those of you who are curious, by the way, 4. I got 4 cats. 4 cats, 2 kittens, and a dog, who is awesome. And Alec Motor, thank you very much for the super chat. Do I think Hillary herself could be indicted before all this is over? It seems like she's doing more damage to Trump's quote-unquote opposition outside of jail than within. That's so true. That's so true. I swear. Actually, no, it's that. So what you're saying, I obviously am involved in politics, so I know people who are involved in the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party wants her to shut up, actually. They don't like her talking. They hate her doing interviews. They do not like her right now. She has caused way too much internal conflict within the party. And they want her to disappear. But the reason she stays out in the open is because, well, think about it. Like, energy, influence, right? So like I always tell you all, what Bernie Sanders did, for example, by creating this quote unquote political revolution, it's something that he couldn't even stop when it was all said and done, when he finally tried to get people to vote against Trump and vote for Hillary Clinton. He couldn't stop it because like the energy had already been initiated. And it still obviously and clearly has not stopped, because look what's happened. Everything that we have been demanding and is still being demanded is coming into fruition, not necessarily in the way that we had imagined it. We thought it was going to be like a very linear thing, like A, B, C, D. But it's not. It's kind of like going like in this roller coaster. But it's happening nonetheless. So she's staying out in the open because she thinks that her neoliberal fan base can put enough pressure on the Democrats and the Republicans before 2018 to get the right people out of office and put her people into office, because indictments and trials do take a long time. So it is strategic on her behalf to stay out in the open, because she doesn't want people to forget about her. And then the next thing we see is us waking up and then, oh shit, Hillary Clinton is charged and is going to jail tomorrow. Oh snaps. So like that's what her end game is. I think she is doing more damage to Trump's opposition, but this is Hillary Clinton. She's selfish. She don't give a damn about that. Now, for your first question, do I believe Hillary Clinton will be indicted? Yes. I don't see. The only question that I have in my mind is what she will actually be indicted for. I think that she could very well be indicted for the email scandal before she gets indicted for the Clinton Foundation. I truly do, because she has a drug dealer's approach to the Clinton Foundation. Remember why it was so incredibly hard to catch Frank Lucas, to catch Al Capone? It's because they never touched the drugs at all whatsoever. Even who's your boy from Colombia? Pablo Escobar. Is it Pablo Escobar? Yeah, Pablo Escobar. They never touch their drugs. Everyone else does, but they never even make direct contact with the people who touch the drugs. So it's hard at that point to say that she was okay with it, that she was a part of the quid pro quo directly with the Clinton Foundation. Now, does that mean that she can possibly be indicted like in other ways because of the Clinton Foundation? It's very, very, very realistic. Because I don't even know to what capacity the Clinton, like she was involved with the Clinton Foundation on paper, because that's what's most important, is how she was involved on paper. So if maybe she doesn't get indicted, maybe Bill gets indicted, because Bill was still more so involved with the Clinton Foundation when she was Secretary of State. Or maybe even she had, maybe quid pro quo started right before, but I think that's 5 years, so I don't know if she'll be able to be indicted for that. But if it started before she was Secretary of State. But if they do find out, in fact, that she was Secretary of State, Bill Clinton was still in some capacity, like on the board of the Clinton Foundation, and then Secretary of State would do one thing, the husband or the Clinton Foundation would do another thing, and then the husband would receive the money. She could be get in trouble for quid pro quo for that, simply because for filing purposes for your taxes and things like that, you're actually viewed as one entity, as most of you all know. And clearly, you know, Secretary, Foundation, husband, back into the wife's pocket as well, because their funds are joint. So I don't know. It could possibly happen through the Clinton Foundation, but I think it's more likely to get her through the email situation than the Clinton Foundation situation. But what I would love to absolutely see, more important than Hillary Clinton being in trouble for what happened in the Clinton Foundation, I want everything that the Clinton Foundation has done to be exposed, because Hillary Clinton, her physical being is less important to me. Like, her being exposed is less important to me than the idea of Hillary Clinton and the idea of Bill and the Clinton Foundation. That needs to be completely and totally decimated going forward. And that's more important to me. I want to see every single person who sat on the board and approved a lot of the bullshit that we've seen the Clinton Foundation do. I want to see Chelsea Clinton never, ever. I want her to have to hide. She's like 30-something years old. I want her to have to hide the rest of her life because the idea of the Clinton brand has been decimated. That's what I would like to see. So, yes, I would like to see Hillary Clinton indicted, but I want to see what comes out because of it. So, and I see Levitha. Oh, thank you very much. Do you have a question for me, Levitha, or are you just being generous? That's really nice of you. I appreciate it. I think that is it. Do we have any more questions? I'll take one more before we go. Man, this live stream actually ran a little bit longer than I was expecting it to. For good reason. For good reason. It was necessary. I think that's it. So thank you all so much for watching. For those of you who are interested, once again, I am on Stitcher, and starting Monday, you will hear me on podcast every single day. I will be posting a podcast on Stitcher, and I will post the link to my Stitcher account, my Stitcher station, in the description below after I get done with the video. Make sure you donate to the One Follow $1 campaign. It's on the Patreon. On Patreon as well, by the way, once a month, I will be doing an exclusive show. I'm going to try and make it, God willing, a call-in show. I'm going to try to make it a call-in show exclusively for Patreon. So all it takes to be a part of that is $1. We're going to have a good time. We're going to laugh, talk, and bullshit, and talk about some real stuff that we don't get to talk about on YouTube. So definitely donate to the Patreon. Literally, it takes $1 to be a part of that. Anything else? I think that's it. Pretty sure that's it. So that's it for today's, well, not today's live stream. It won't be the last one, but that's it for this live stream. And I appreciate all the love and all the support. And if you are watching right now, freaking subscribe. Because this is what we talk about, people. We talk about the real stuff. And like I always say, we may not agree on everything, but just because it's not what you want to hear at the time, it may be what you need to hear. And this is a place for legitimate discourse where maybe progressives and conservatives have different views, but in my heart and soul, I truly believe that most people have want the same conclusion and have the same end game in mind, which is the overall prosperity of the human race. And although we have different views on how to attain that prosperity, doesn't mean we have to hate each other. Doesn't mean we can't disagree and disagree about one thing and then celebrate something like this going forward, right? Because I don't care if you're progressive or conservative, most people are freaking happy about this, which is why she didn't win the election, because she was incredibly unpopular, because people wanted justice. And we may disagree on one thing or another. Like, perhaps you may disagree on a racial justice issue, and I may disagree on a Trump issue. That doesn't mean we have to hate each other. That doesn't mean we can't have discourse. In fact, it means that we need to have discourse. Without the name calling, without the insults. It means that we need to sit down and try to understand each other, because through that understanding and communication is the only way that we are ever going to be able to move forward. And I think that we've been doing a very good job of that here. And I can't freaking wait to see what happens in 2018, because it's been a hell of a year thus far for the movement of justice and protecting the fabric and integrity of our democracy. So thank you all so much for watching. And always, always, always remember, people, find your balance. Peace.